Hello and welcome to something. I don't know, I'm not used to doing something like this. But uh I did want to do it, so I'm going to do it. So what this is like a half speculation, really more self-indulgent like creativity on my part where I will be uh, listing off all of my ideas for things for the remaining Grand Prix in Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Now, I have 5 separate ideas for Grand Prix, and I have a month area associated with each of them, and I just have like a bunch of like different kind of ideas for things. So let's get started. I am nervous. I am clearly very nervous, but we're gonna push on because I kind of want to do this before anything else gets announced, and it's almost January, so I'm assuming some announcements are gonna come then. I mean, we already have the announcement of the Badlands. I think that's what it's called, the Badlands uh, Grand Prix, but only with one new character. Yeah, I should mention that uh, I am recording this on the 28th of December, and it'll probably be uploaded like sometime like a little later, but hopefully not too much later, where things go sideways. So I guess with that in mind, let's begin. Now, February is like so okay, I am under no assumption that like any of these are going to happen for sure. But like I do know Beanox does like getting feedback from like people and like maybe getting a few ideas. Like there's one later that they might be seriously considering because of like a bigger YouTube person, if I can even call myself a YouTube person at this point. And I have been uploading stuff. It's just never mind. We're here to talk about this. So, but like February out of all of them is the least likely to happen, even though like I am under no assumption that any of this is going to happen. But like February is the least likely because like like I said, this is like the 28th of December. They're probably already planning stuff around it. Oh boy. This is going to be fun to edit. So, but my idea for February is a magical girl Grand Prix. And there are a few things going on here. So, first off, the idea behind the Grand Prix, this is the only Grand Prix that introduces like completely original characters on my part. So these original characters are a leopard, a hornbill, and a tapir, named after the Malay words for love, peace, and friendship, and I am going to butcher these, probably. Sinta, Kemanen, and Persahabatan. So Sinta's the leopard, Kemanen is the hornbill, and Persahabatan is the tapir. And they are balance, acceleration, and speed, respectively. So these are a trio of magical girls who live in a city, and they received their magical girl abilities from. I'm gonna make a bunch of stuff up. So they received their magical girl powers from that new mask that we saw. If that makes sense, like that new mask is guiding them and it gives them powers and stuff. And how they got that is that they were just regular girls who like wound up in an old mansion type thing and ended up saving, like, the unearthing the mask and saving a not original character, Junia the turtle, from this Crash 2 manga called the Danzu de Jump na Daiboken. And but the mansion belonged to another character that's been talked about somewhat recently, Mr. Crumb, who is a greedy old ghost from this 99X game, Crash Bandicoot 99X. And because, like, because Mr. Crumb was disturbed and the mask and its elements are stolen, Mr. Crumb seeks havoc on the town, and like the town in havoc while also being like fraught with magic is the track idea called Magic Mile, where it's just the city is under attack, but there's also magic flowing through it as well. So like where like a bridge cuts off, a magical bridge steps in and it like goes to a different place, and then it gets back on the road where it's a bit dangerous and there's like some knockdown buildings that you have to go around, and you have to like jump over like gaps and stuff. I think it's a like fun idea, and I like the idea of adding some new characters, even though like this is the only time I do it. And I just think this would be a really fun idea, because like magical girl stuff is all about love and stuff, and like since it's February, which like coincides with Valentine's Day, even though it might begin post Valentine's Day, it probably will, because it's really weird how things are going. But regardless, that's the idea for the first Grand Prix. And then I explained the characters already. Mr. Crumb would be Adrift and Junia would be Turn. And so like I only have like the characters, the track, skins, carts, and like the basic wheels for each. So the skin that you would get at the end of the Nitro bar would be like an angelic Cinta, which is kind of inspired by like the final magical girl outfit kind of thing, like Gadoka from Madoka, something like that. So, and then a sailor uniform Nina, a ranger slash Sentai fake Crash, because like Sentai slash Power Rangers, like they have a lot of similar like beats to them, a lot of similar themes, but one is more aimed at like guys and one's more aimed at girls. Like kind of it's a weird like that's how it is. At least that's how I think it is. And since like it's fake Crash, he would go for the thing that sort of doesn't fit into the thing. So then we have Sprite Pura, which is like the little side character that's like there and assists the magical girls, like your Kiros, or to a lesser extent your Kyubeis maybe, but like essentially something that makes it look like a little sprite thing, I guess. And we have Tuxedo Pinstripe, obviously based on Tuxedo Mask. For this, then I said Pixie Yaya, which kind of more like the original magical girls, the ones I mentioned, seem to Keimanan and Persahabaton, whatever. Like are more like your classic magical girls, whereas like Pixie Yaya is like meant to be more like Wings Club inspired, if you're familiar at all with that. Something like that for Yaya. Then we have like Assistant Rillaru, which is kind of like the evil assistant to the main villains. Like something like that. I'm kind of thinking like Klungo from Banjo-Kazooie kind of thing, but like I know that exists in other magical girl shows. Then we have like Monster Zem and Monster Zam, which like it's their design but like taken to be more monster like, to like be more like about the monsters that like attack the city. And then we have like the evil sister Wampa Girls, which are like based on like an evil magical girl team that like the regular magical girls would fight. I am again kind of going off of Winx Club on that, but I'm pretty sure that's a thing in other magical girl stuff as well. I'm not entirely well versed in the category of magical girls, but I still think it's a fun idea. So, the carts I have, like each one gets 3 as per usual, are the Spellbinder, which is just like a book that's I guess floating, so I guess it doesn't have wheels. The Love Arrow, which is like a car that's shaped like an arrow, but with like a heart as the arrow, kind of. And then a Magic Carriage, which is pretty self-explanatory. And the generic wheels would be like these heart wheels, which are just like wheels, but with like hearts in the center of them on their axles, as like I know there's a word for that, but I don't know what it is. So that's my idea for February. Now March, here's why I only came up with 3 original characters. March is Spyro and Friends 2, and it's just getting more Spyro content into like the game, and I think it's appropriate because like Crash and Spyro like share so much like they share a lot in terms of like history and where like people think about them and how people think about them. So even though like Spyro and Friends was like only once like done, I think they wanted to add more like Crash stuff before they go back to adding more Spyro, and I think adding more Spyro content makes complete sense. So the track in this Avalar Alley would be like similar to Spyro Circuit, but based on levels from Spyro 2, where like I don't know, you're going through different levels in the Spyro 2 in Avalar and just driving through them, going past some set pieces and stuff. So, for Avalar Alley, I imagine we would start in Glimmer, because in Europe it's called Gateway to Glimmer, and Glimmer's the starting level. So, like, I think it makes sense to start there. Start in Glimmer, go through a portal, you end up in, you end up in the skiless Badlands for a little bit, then Fracture Hills, and then, Metropolis. And then back to Glimmer, essentially. So, I think there's some like fun, like things they could do with that. And then the characters, Alora, who's who is the one unlocked at the bronze tier, would be balance. Ripto would be turn. Sorceress is speed. Bianca is acceleration, and I've decided money bags on this one for drift. So the skins would be at the end of the gold tier would be Valley Alora, which would just be a skin for Alora that makes her look more like the other fawns in Fracture Hills and be more like Valley, you know. So then other skins would be RoboShark Nash, based on the RoboSharks from Aquaria Towers. Farmer Geary, based on the inhabitants of Robotica Farms. Golden Spyro, which is just Spyro, but gold, essentially. There's no... Oh, okay, there's a bit of inspiration for it, because, like, during the last Ripto fight, like, Spyro collects gold orbs in order to get the, like, fly and super flame power. So, like, the idea is just, like, a Spyro that's just gold. But it's based on that thing. Bagpipe Cortex, based on, again, the inhabitants of Fracture Hills. But it would be really funny. Oasis Komodo Mo, which would be like Komodo Mo wearing something from one of the inhabitants of Shady Oasis. I'm kind of thinking, even though they are smaller, the like outfits that are like more red and orange, because like the like purple outfit is just a shirt, and like Komodo Mo's already wearing pants, so like or at least something over his legs. So it would just be weird to not do that. So then Idol Papu Papu, which like is based on the idol enemies in Idol Springs. Like we kind of make him like, I think we could just like paint the idol on his belly, and then like a little idol mask at the top on his head. Badlands Krunk, which would just make Krunk look like one of the members of the Skillos Badlands. Blob Army Von Clutch, which would just be Von Clutch with a pot on his head, but that is fun. and wizard slash wizard, because they are wizards. Warlock is the one you fight. Wizard Real Velo, based on the wizard NPCs from Cloud Temples and Mystic Marsh. Okay. And the carts I have are, of course, there's going to be the Troublesome Trolley, which, again, won't have wheels because it has, like, the little trolley wheels, and it's kind of like the bumper car from the Neon Circus Grand Prix in that respect. The Gulp-O-Matic, which would be a cart that looks like Gulp, and the Idol Rider, which is a cart that looks like one of the idols from Idle Springs. And the wheels would just be like orbs, essentially. So, April is the Academy of Evil Grand Prix. And this is just like the Grand Prix that introduces like a bunch of stuff from Twinsanity, and essentially that's it. But it's like a lot of people really like Twinsanity. I like it too. It has been a while since I've played it, but I actually really like Twinsanity. So the track would be called Hallway Havoc, and the idea for the track is that you're just going through the school, and then like after a few things, like maybe one of those things could be passing by Madame Amberly's chamber, where Cortex has that boss fight with her, and then you go to the roof. And then, like, one of the obstacles on the roof, or even in the school, maybe, could be the bus that's swinging back and forth. But it's just through the same place. And then, go down through the courtyard and then back into the school. And that's the idea for the track. And the characters the new characters, I have 5 each for each of them. I should have explained that. But the character you get at the end of the bronze tier is Madame Amberly, who's Drift. Then we also have the Evil Twins for acceleration, Evil Crash is balance, Baby Cortex is turn, and Baby Entropy is speed, because regular entropy is speed. And back when they introduced Baby Coco was acceleration like Coco, while Baby Crash was turn, whereas regular Crash was balance. So, same logic with Baby Cortex. So, the skins, at the end of the gold tier, you would get like a Twinsane or good, whatever, Madame Amberly, who would look good, I guess. I guess you'd have, like, lighter hair and, I don't know, just in red, mostly. That's how I see it. But it really is up to them. Then we have a pop punk Crash. I just think that would be fun, and I think Crash would look good in some, like, pop punk attire. Science Lab Coco, which would be just like Coco in a lab coat and stuff, which would be fun. Nerd Engine, which would be Engine dressed as like one of those nerd enemies from Twinsanity. The one where like you have to like sneak past them in the hall, and they have the flashlight, and if they catch you, like paper planes just like kill you. Obviously Coco Cortex, based on the first few cutscenes of like Twinsanity, where Coco Cortex is leading Crash to a trap. A mean girl / rival Pasadena, which would just be like Pasadena in a sort of school uniform, but also like kind of blowing bubble gum, and they'd have like their coat around their waist to like something to indicate that they're kind of like mean or rivalish. Here's an interesting one. Flag Ripperoo, which would be like Ripperoo tied up in the school's flag, which I think would be funny. And then like the podium animation for when he wins would be like him jumping around and then landing on the pole, unfurling the flag for a little bit, only to furl it back, and then him to start jumping around again. Shy Yaya, which would be Yaya with like a little hoodie that she wears up, and like she just is a little nervous and stuff. I think it's cute and fun and stuff. It would be it's really fun. I like this idea. School uniform Koala Kong. This could also work with Tiny, but since Koala Kong has only one, and Tiny has more than one costume, I think giving this Koala Kong would be fun, which would just be like him in a school uniform, like just like a jacket, a tie, like pants, dress shoes, the whole works. A little briefcase. I think it would be funny, just like this giant muscle person wearing like a school uniform. I think that would be funny. And then finally we have Steampunk Geary, a take on Geary that is basically steampunk. I think that fits with the idea of the Academy of Evil, and I think that's a good costume idea for Geary in general. So for carts, we have the Paper Plane, which I guess is the mandatory floaty or no wheels car. A lab lorry, which they would call it a lorry. It's the British word for truck. But like it's essentially like a giant kind of car with a bunch of lab equipment in it, like a truck with lab equipment in it. And then the Grand Bell, which is just like a bell-shaped car. And then the wheels would be like crumpled notes, so we'd see like the color like scrawled across it, and then like maybe a little bit deepened in the bottom part of like ink at the bottom. Like it's essentially like a crumpled piece of paper that's in a ball with like some form of ink, and like especially some gathered at the bottom. But it does rotate, so it becomes the top. Whatever. So, Maze is Spyro and Friends 3, which, again, the track Forgotten Freeway is similar to Spyro Circuit, but with Spyro 3 levels. I was thinking maybe they could start at the Fireworks Factory, and go through Bamboo Terrace, then Molten Crater, then the Lost Ruins. The Desert Ruins. Yeah. Whatever. And then go back to the Fireworks Factory. I picked those levels because Fireworks Factory has like the thing with Agent 9, Bamboo Terrace has Bentley, Molten Crater has Sergeant Bird, and Desert Ruins has that Sheila section. So it's levels with all of them without being the levels of all of them, if that makes sense. And then characters. The one you get at the end of the bronze tier would be Cinder, specifically that reignited Cinder that we saw artwork for a little while ago. She would be Speed. Sheila would be Balance. Sergeant Bird would be Turn. Bentley is Drift, and Agent 9 is Acceleration. I think those make sense. So as for skins, we would have like at the end of the gold tier would be Evil Cinder, and then so other costumes, there would be a purple Crash and an orange Spyro, as a reference to like Crash Purple and Orange and Spyro Orange, even though those games are not very good apparently. But like the idea of just like a purple Crash and an orange Spyro as like an homage to that idea would be good, and I think in general those complement each other well. So then obviously we have Skater Hunter and then Robed Bianca to kind of cap off on like costumes that like are needed for these characters. And then we have Rhinoc Baby T, Emperor Cortex, which not only like counts as like a reference to Sunny Villa, but also Crash Warped at the beginning of Tiny's fight. Then we have Bluto Papu Papu, which would be Papu Papu wearing what Bluto the Rhinoc wears, essentially, along with like some pants, I guess. Hummingbird Penta Penguin, which would be a reference to Sergeant Bird's like troop of hummingbirds. Dragon Egg Entrance. I just think that one's kind of obvious. Firefly Rillaroo, based on the inhabitants of the Spooky Marsh. I just think he looks like he would look good as like a firefly. Like he'd have jeans, and then he'd have like a little light on his tail, or like something coming out of those jeans. I think that's a good idea. Pirate Von Clutch, which again not only counts as a reference to the Lost Fleet, but also Crash Tag Team Racing. That was his original costume. And then Karate Agent Coco, which is a reference to what Handel and Gretel are wearing at the fireworks factory. And then Pharaoh Velo, which is a reference to the Haunted Tomb. And Crystal Crunch, which would be a reference to the Crystal Islands, also from the Midnight Mountain thing. So the carts we have would be like the Sorceress's Tank, the Firework, which is like a cart based on a firework, and the Cage Carriers, which is kind of like a carriage thing, but more so the cage type. It looks more like a cage than a carriage. And then the wheels would just be different colored eggs. So June is the other story-heavy Grand Prix idea I have. So June's Grand Prix, or my idea for June's Grand Prix, would be the Takeover. And again, I have to introduce the characters first. So the idea is that Willy Wonka Cheeks, the Viscount, and Goat King have all teamed up and have taken over like Moto World from Crash Tag Team Racing, and also like the Grand Prix announcements kind of thing. They're just taking over. Okay, no, they've taken over Moto World and plan on taking over the announcements and stuff. But to stop them, there's only one person who can, and that is the Crash Suit Guy. Now, the Crash Suit Guy was suggested by one Leopold the Brave, and they did respond. The creators did respond saying that might be a good idea, and people have been like putting it in the suggestion things as something, and I think it would be a really interesting thing. So the track itself would be called Moto Madness, which would be a race around like the park's different areas. So like you start in like Pirates of the Carburetor. I don't know, because you have to keep going back and it's not the like Moto World isn't like in order of how it goes, because like Once Upon a Tire, the second world is at the far end. So I guess it's like you going through like the different worlds differently, while the park is under attack from these three. So that the idea is just that you're just racing around the Moto world while chaos ensues. So characters, the like bronze tier character would be the Crash Suit Guy, obviously. Then we have Willy Wumpa Cheeks. Oh, Crash Suit Guy's balance. Willy Wumpa Cheeks' turn. I know that's weird, but it'll make sense sort of in a minute. The Viscount is acceleration. The Goat King is drift, and then just to be there is Gurin, also from Danzu de Jump na Daiboken, who is Pentapenguin's girlfriend, but also has a thing for Crash. And she is Speed. And I just think putting her there as just like a, oh, I'm there too, is definitely like a Pentapenguin style thing based on how this game has treated Pentapenguin. So the skins are a little more like just whatever. Like there's not really a theme, but just a bunch of like referential or fun things. So the skins, the one at the gold tier would be Hero Crash Suit Guy, which would just be like the Crash Suit Guy wearing like a mask and a cape and like underwear tights on the outside. I just think it would be funny. So then we have Motor Baby Crash, which is just Baby Crash and the motorcycle gear that Crash is in Warped for those motorcycle levels. Space Baby Coco, which would be like Baby Coco in Coco's space outfit, I think she has. I'm gonna double check on that, because like Okay, never mind. Yeah, based on like a spacey outfit, kind of to represent like her boss fight with Engine from 3. Uh, and Ambiginator Pasadena, which is her original costume from Tag Team Racing. Okay, this one I just wanted to do because of the pun. Uh, where it's Crash dressed as Phil Lynott of Thin Lizzy and called Back End Town Crash. I just that pun is like too good for me to give up. So then a Terminator Geary, which is like a Geary wearing Schwarzenegger's glasses and leather jacket, and instead of like the gun, it would be like a handheld vacuum. Some casual outfits for the magical girls I made up earlier, just for fun. Like the park drone entrance, which would be just entrance dressed as one of the park drones from Tag Team Racing. Black and white engine, which is just engine in like black and white colors, like that one cutscene from Mind Over Mutants. Originally, I wanted to do more based on the cutscenes from Mind Over Mutant, but like really, I think this is the only one that works well. It's just this like, I guess it's more grayscale than black and white, but like, it's called black and white because that's the thing. Pompadour Fake Crash, which is just fake Crash in like a, basically it looks like the main character from Redline, but fake Crash. Because like regular Crash has like the regular kind of motorcycle look. So like fake Crash would just kind of look like the guy from Redline with a huge pompadour. And then Magician and Oxide, which would just be like an Oxide with like a top hat, a cane, or a wand, and a cape. And they would be doing all sorts of magic stuff on the podium. And then our carts for this final Grand Prix would be the loudspeaker, which is just like a cart with two like stereos on it blasting stuff out. The Wumpa Whipper, which like it sort of looks like one of those like slushy machines turned on its side, and like some slush mix like falls out or gets sprayed out from the back, like when you're going really fast. And then the Blimp Rider, which is just like a little blimp type thing that looks like the blimps from like either Hot Air Skyway or Cortex's blimp. It, like a lot of this is kind of supposed to be more referential and stuff. And then like the generic wheels would be like Wampa wheels, which are just like Wampa fruit but in different colors. So those are my ideas for the future Grand Prix, and I have spent a lot of time on this. Thank you for listening, if you have all this way. If you want to hear more of me talking and me sounding a little more confident, I have a podcast called the Littlest Petcast, where I go through the show Littlest Petcast from 2012 and stuff. Like it's a fun time. I have a lot of fun with it. Yeah, but that's it. Those are my ideas for future Grand Prix. VGC Kenny out. Thank you.